So let me first start with the acquisition of the P8. Actually, we have started the evaluation of our replacement platform for the Fokker, who has been in service for the last 30 years and more, for quite a few years. We are not focused on the platforms per se, we are focused on the capabilities. Now, the capability we want is to enhance our situation awareness for the maritime security environment. And as we know, the environment has evolved quite a lot over the past many years. It has become much more congested, much more cluttered. So in order for us to have a good situation awareness, we will need a range of capabilities that include what we can acquire with the P8, but there will also be other capabilities that we will need to complement the P8 capabilities in order to provide us with the enhanced situation awareness on the maritime security domain. So the first phase, we intend to acquire 4 P8s. They will probably come into service in the early 2030s. Subsequently, we'll make announcement on the other platforms that we may acquire in order to complement this capability. But I would say that it will not be what we used to in the past in the sense of a one-to-one replacement. In fact, today, different platforms bring to the table different capabilities, and we want to make sure that we have different platforms with different capabilities to augment our overall situation awareness. That will also strengthen the resilience of our situation awareness capability. So that's for the P8. Now, how do we consider what platform to buy? Is based on our operational requirement. It's also based on the cost effectiveness of our platform. As you know, when the SAF acquires something, we don't just look at the upfront cost, we also look at the tail cost of how we are able to operate it efficiently for the entire lifespan of the platform. It will also include our engineering capability to sustain the capability so that we really stretch our defense dollar. So those are the main considerations of how we consider which platform to buy and how to complement the different platforms and bring them together to provide us with the integrated capabilities. So that's the P8. The second set of issues that you all talk about is the F-35. So our first F-35 will probably be delivered end of 2026, and with that we will start up a new squadron at Ebbing. We are already in talks with the local authorities in Ebbing on the establishment of the new squadron there. At the new place, it will not just be the Singapore Armed Forces, the RSAF, training at Ebbing. There will also be other partner countries that will be operating the same and similar platforms in Ebbing, and that will allow us to share lessons and also to learn from one another. So that is the reason why we have chosen Ebbing to base our F-35. And in time to come, we will also consider putting other platforms that are necessary to integrate our operational capability. Okay, then let me come to the third set of issues that you all asked about Exercise Forging Saber in general. What's our plan? And maybe Exercise Forging Saber for this particular edition and what we are focused on. Exercise Forging Saber is but one of the many exercises that we have throughout our training calendar in a year. And for different exercises, we have different focus area, and that will continue to be so. So for different editions of Exercise Forging Saber, Exercise Wallaby, we will test out different slices of our capabilities, so that over time we are confident that when we put all the parts together, we are able to operate as one. For Exercise Forging Saber in US itself, for those of you who have been with us in previous editions, you will know that we do not necessarily have a fixed location of the exercise in different years, but instead we choose different locations based on our operational and training needs. So that is why in previous editions of Exercise Forging Saber, we have used different ranges, and we are also in consultation and discussion with the US on which are the appropriate ranges in order to deploy our assets. And of course, you all understand that in Exercise Forging Saber is not just about the Air Force assets. There are also assets from the DIS, assets from the Army that needs to be integrated. So in this particular edition of Exercise Forging Saber, what are we focused on? I would summarize it into two sets of capabilities. One is our ability to integrate different capabilities together. The other one is our ability to adapt. And let me cover them in parts. When we talk about integration, there are different levels of integration. Exercise Forging Saber is one of those exercises whereby we can have from the highest headquarters planning all the way down to the last mile targeting. So it's what we call the end-to-end targeting. There are not many places in the world that will allow us to train this end-to-end capability. So there's one level of integration, the higher HQ to the last mile tactical targeting. There's another layer of integration, and that is between the four services, Army, Air Force, Navy, and the DIS. They will have to bring the different capabilities, different assets together in order to integrate them. The third level of integration is not just about amongst the four services, but it's also how we integrate the four services with the technological side, like the D-Star side. So you also have D-Star engineers together with us integrating the technological products in the exercise itself, which is also part of the exercise. So there are many dimensions of integration in an exercise like that. That is why it's a complex exercise. We conduct it over 2-3 weeks to exercise different slices of the integration. And that was the answer to your question, what have we learned from the recent conflicts all around the world? It's not just about hitting a target. It is about integrating different capabilities together to achieve not just the tactical result, but also the operational and strategic effects. So that's what we are committed to do. Of course, there's no one exercise that will allow us to exercise all aspects of our capabilities, which is why concurrently we also have exercises down in Australia and exercise Wallaby. They will also exercise yet at other slices of our capability, other forms of integration. So that is how we intend to continue to do exercise Forging Saber. Okay. Fourth set of issue, you talk about the regional security and what we intend to do. As you all will be familiar with, we are now facing a changed global environment. We are facing a much more uncertain environment, and that is why we are committed to make sure that we do two things very well. One, we continue to work with like-minded partners like the US to promote regional security. Second thing that we need to do well is to make sure that we continue to build up real substantive capabilities for others to want to partner with us and for us to be able to make a contribution to the regional security. And this is why, whether is it in the acquisitions of platform or the exercises that we have, we want to make sure that we can enhance the interoperability between ourselves and different armed forces so that we can work together. Okay. Last but not least, I want to address a question that you all mentioned about the drones, which I think you all have a lot of interest in. Today, when you see the integration of the drones, is a process that is continuously evolving, because you will see what we call a high-low mix. There will be capabilities that are high-end assets like the fighters, the attack helicopters that bring to bear in the battlefield, but there will also be capabilities that the low-cost drones can bring to bear in a battlefield. So depending on the operational scenario, you will need to combine the high-end capabilities with also the cheaper, low-cost capabilities. And so just now in one of the scenarios, you will see, like for example, how the different slices of capability are brought together. And if one of them are not able to function, how the rest of them complement the capabilities. There was a very good analogy shared with me by one of the operators in the command post. If you imagine, this is like what they call the platform delivery service, like Grab. Right? You have many targets, you have many sensors, you have many shooters. The challenge for us is how do you make sure that your sensors and your shooters are assigned to the targets in the shortest time possible, so that before the target starts moving around. It sounds like quite a simple issue, but you will have low-cost drones with more limited ranges, with a different set of communications protocol to the high-end platforms with different ranges, different effects. How do you combine all this and make sure that your Grab service, in fact some of them call it Grab a bomb service, how do you bring it to target at the precise time for the precise effect? Now that requires practice. and you will need to have different operational scenarios in order for us to do this well. So it sounds simple, but it's not so simple because you have actually many moving parts, from small drones to army assets, navy assets, air force assets, and even intelligence assets. So basically you need to bring three things together: your ability to find the target, what we call sensing capability, to your ability to shoot the target, to fix the target and shoot the target. And then you of course need to make sure you take care of the collateral that might inevitably happen, and to minimize any damage to the collateral. And this is something that we have seen in recent operations all around the world. How do you combine these three effects to achieve both the tactical and the operational effects? And this is something that we need to keep exercising so that the system continue to improve. Now within this, of course, is actually quite complex. Then the question is, how do you simplify this in order to achieve the effects we want? So you will see a few things in the command post. The use of high-end algorithms, the use of even AI to help us to solve this multi-dimensional problem in the shortest time possible. But one of the things that I'm very happy to see in the exercise is that this is not a group of people who's just trying to take out a target and then just shoot a target. You also see them trying to constantly evolve their processes. So just now you mentioned about the cycle. If you do one exercise and then you go and improve your processes, then the next time you do another exercise could be a few months down the road or a few years down the road. But what you are seeing us exercise in exercise Forging Saber is what we call the simultaneous adaptation capability, which means that as we use our current processes, the engineers, the operators are constantly evolving the processes. And without having to wait for a few months later, we actually bring in new capabilities online. So for example, the algorithm. You start off with a certain algorithm. After one or two runs, you realize that you may not be able to achieve the speed that you want. Then within the same time frame of 1 to 2 days, you are able to adjust and adapt your algorithm and evolve it. And if you think that your large language model is not able to give you the kind of results that you want, then you are able to tweak the model and keep improving. So what we call the speed to market for the targeting processes are much faster. So that alleviates the problem of having to wait for another cycle of the exercise before we keep pace with the changes. And this adaptability is actually key to victory in many of the operations that we see around the world. So it's never about how good your weapon system are at the beginning or how good your processes are at the beginning, because in any operations you will need to adapt. The ability to adapt, the agility of the processes is actually our winning edge beyond the capabilities of the weapons. Okay. On that note,
share about your US trip. What are your takeaways?
Well, the US trip has been very fruitful, I would say, very hectic. I arrived here on Monday. I spent 3 days in Washington, D.C., meeting up with not just my counterparts, but the Secretary of War, the Secretary of the Navy, the Secretary of the Air Force, the congressman, but I also visited some think tanks. I think over the first 3 days, it gave me a good appreciation of the diversity of views that the US principals have on the global situation. And I want to emphasize this. I think the US is a very big country. It's a country with diverse perspective, and we should not think that they are monolithic in their views. And what we are able to do in the 3 days was to appreciate the diversity of views within the US establishment. That helps us to understand where they're coming from, what they are trying to do. It helps us to understand their priorities, their focus area on their future capability build-up. And because we can, so long as we can understand their needs and their plans better, it will allow us to better provide a value proposition in our interactions with them. The fourth day, yesterday, I went to see the F-35 production facilities. So it's not just a plant tour, but it helps us to appreciate the effort that is required to build the plane, and most importantly for us to do the maintenance of the plane to stretch its capability. It also gives us a sense of the kind of training and integration required for us to fully utilize the capabilities of the new platform. And today I'm here at Mountain Home to see not just the exercise itself, but I also got a chance to visit the participants' families who are staying here. So we have one of the largest contingent in Mountain Home. I'm happy to see that the families are happily settled. The children are able to go to school, and even their mother tongue requirement is being taken care of. So that's important because in order for our people to operate effectively, I think all of us will agree that we must take care of the families as well. So when we see happy families, we know that there will be focused soldiers, servicemen and women who will be able to concentrate on their tasks at hand. So we are happy with what I have seen, and of course we are constantly looking for areas that we can improve in the way that we take care of servicemen and women, so that so long as we take care of them, they'll take care of the mission for us.